What's up, Blurry Gang? Back with another tutorial. Today we are going to be doing a mid-drop fade with a Pompadour style on the top. Right now is the terminology I'm going to be using throughout the video, so if you ever get confused, just refer back to the beginning and let's get started. So to start, before every haircut, I always prep my client. I make sure that the hair is in a position where it's going to make it the easiest for me to cut. So right now I got my 1.5 guard on and we're setting the base to our fade, which is going to be the longest length in the haircut. And we're going to leave the crown area heavy, and that's going to add another dimension to our fade once we use our clipper over comb technique to take out that bulk. And as you guys can see, this is going to be a disconnected haircut as I've sectioned off both the sides. And we're not going to go for the undercut look, so we're going to keep that weight in the back for the hair to fall onto. Now we have that no guard on, and we're going to set our first guideline. You want to start that drop around the ear. So as you can see, it peaks at the ear and then it begins to drop, following the contour of his head. After you finish making your first guideline on one side, you want to move on to the other side and make that same guideline and then just connect it in the back. This way, I found this method to be the best method to get the most symmetrical line. Now we're going to go ahead and open up our lever and set our second guide about 1/2 inch up. Notice how at the top of the guide I flick out. This is going to give me an easier blend into my next guard. Alright, so now we're going to use our lever play to take out that line that we created. And notice how I'm only using my corners when I'm blending, whereas when I was setting my guide, I was using the blade flush. Moving on to the other side. We're just going to open up the lever and set up that second guide about 1/2 inch up, and still notice that the blade is flush and I'm flicking out at the top. And again, to take out that line we created, we're going to use our lever play. So move the lever, whatever it takes to get that line out, just don't pass your guide. And generally when you finish your lever play, you want to open up the clipper and just re-establish that longest length, like the 1/2, so that you can transition into your guards. After we're done taking that line out, we're going to move on and slap on our 1/2 guard. And with that, we're just going to take it through the motions. And what we're doing here is we're fading up. We're continuing to fade up. So we're going to set our guideline, take out the line, set our guideline, take out the line, and so forth. On to the next guard, we're going to slap on that one guard and take it through the motions. So again, we're fading up. We're gonna set our guide open and then slowly take it down until that line is faded out. For the other side again, we're going to slap on our half guard and go through the exact same steps. So I just wanted to mention that just take note when I'm going in with my open, with a half open, I'm setting a guide, right? So I'm taking that flush and I'm setting that guide and I'm trying to flick out and make it as soft as a guideline as possible to make. And once that guideline is set, I'm gonna be slowly closing up my lever and I'm gonna start using my corners to knock it out. Alright, so now that we're done with the half guard, go ahead and switch it up with the one. And same thing, go through the motions. When I'm setting my one guide open, I'm going flush and I'm flicking out. And then as I slowly close my lever, we're using our corners. So now that we're done with our guards, we're just going to pull out our hitters and set our hook. And just like before, if you've watched the other videos, we set that first guide under the box and then we match it using just the corner of our blade. And then now that I have my hitters in my hand, I'm just going to go ahead and ball them out, finish up that blend. So after we're done balding them out, we're just going to pull out our foil shavers and really take it down to the skin. So right now I'm using my Bronze Series 9. It's probably the best shaver on the market right now. I'll probably end up doing a review on it sometime this week when I get time. But yeah, let's just finish up that blend. Alright, moving on to our clipper over comb technique. So there's two things to clipper over comb. There's debulking and there's blending. So to debulk, you go horizontally or side to side like what I'm doing right now. And then to blend out lines, your clipper strokes are vertical or up and down, as I'm doing right now. Just adding that final detail with our freehand technique, taking out all those flyaways. Moving on to the other side, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to debulk and then we're going to blend. Alright, sometimes even after your clip over comb, it might not be fully blended to the top. This is because there's like ridges in people's heads that clipper over comb can't really get. So you gotta slap on your guards, do some touch-up work, and use your corners. So right now I'm just prepping his hair for a lineup, and we're going to start lining him up. You want to start in the middle and then work your way to each side. This will give you the most symmetrical lineup possible. And you want to be eye level with his lineup. You want to see, like, you want to line him up according to how you would see his hairline out in public. Another thing when you're lining up, you always want to stay in that same kind of perspective, because things will look straight from a different perspective as opposed to another. So when you're lining them up, you want to make sure you're lining them up with the same perspective, and always just taking a step back and making sure everything's G, you know? Alright, so moving on to the straight blade. You guys already know, stretch the skin one way and then pull the blade across the grain or against the grain. This will give you the sharpest lineup possible. So my client likes to keep his hair longer, so he's going to keep the length, and we're just going to add some texture to the ends. So you see when I pull up the hair, it's blunt, and then I'm going in with my point cutting, and I'm just going 1, 2, 3 and putting that texture in. So now that we got some texture in his hair, it'll be easier to move. So we're just going to break up the bonds in his hair and shape it how we want, using a blow drying on high heat, using a paddle brush because he has a lot of hair. And we're going to finish him off with some product, some Gatsby wax, matte wax. And I'm not sponsored by this product, but I really like it. I feel like it holds Asian hair the best. I got it from Japan. And then just finish him up with some hairspray, and he's good to go. Alright, here's the before the haircut, and here's the after. Mid skin fade, skin tight with that pompadour on top. Thanks for watching, y'all. Blurry out.